Hi everyone, this is Elizabeth from kasiwa.blogspot.com, and I wanted to share with you my current journal, how I go about making it, and also share some new projects that I'm working on in the journaling world, which are just really fun. So this is my current journal. It's a 9x6 and I bind them by myself. It's very simple to do. I basically use pretty much all recycled material other than the paper itself. So it's a hardcover book with a soft spine, and the front and the back covers, as well as the inside front and back, as you can see there, are all wallpaper samples. So if you have a wallpaper store near you, I suggest making friends with the person that runs a store and ask them about what they do with the wallpaper samples when they are done with the particular season, because what these guys do is they throw it out. And I walk in the store and they save them for me and I pick them up for nothing. The fabric you see here that makes the spine comes from fabric samples or fabric swatches from stores, and I'll talk a little bit about that later as well. The book itself is sewed with a pamphlet stitch, very simple, 3 holes, nothing complicated about it at all. The inside pages of the book are watercolor paper. I basically buy the cheapest 9x6 watercolor pad I can find, and I just basically fold them in half to make my signatures. This particular book, as you can see, has 3 signatures, which tends to be basically what I do with most of my books. There are 3 signatures of 6 pieces of paper each. And that's it. That's all it takes to make a watercolor book that's hand-bound, very simple to make at home. You can make it the way you like it, with the paper you like, and you have fun covers that are unique, and nobody else will have one like that. So just like I make friends with my wallpaper guys, I also make friends with people who have fabrics. If you walk into a store that actually sells upholstery materials and sell furniture, couches, sofas, chairs, ottomans, they tend to have what they call fabric swatch books. So that's so that you can decide to have your sofa in that print or this one, or maybe you prefer this one. Isn't this great? I love this. They do the same thing. When they are done with the season, that particular book of swatches gets thrown away. I mean, they literally put this beautiful fabric into the trash. I do the same thing I do with the wallpaper guys. I go in there, I make friends with someone, and I ask them to please hold the swatch books for me, and I pick them up, and same thing, I pick up these fabulous fabrics for free. Now, it's upholstery fabric, so it's pretty thick, it's pretty dense, and you'll find most of them have a piece of paper kind of lining in the back. They come in these books, but they're very flexible, and I have tended to use them primarily for my spines. So I've been using this fabric for my spines. Now I collect lots of this. I mean, I have, feet of these kinds of beautiful fabric, and I was not sure how I was going to use them all, because really I make a lot of journals, but there's only so many journals I can use, and spine material doesn't take up that much fabric. Then, lo and behold, while I'm on Mary Ann Moss's blog, I find that she's got a class called Remains of the Day, and she comes up with this way to use up all kinds of fabrics in making books, in papers as well as in the cover. And what I decided to do was go ahead and try using these fabric swatches. So here's my first journal cover using fabric swatches and kind of following along with the Remains of the Day class. I will put a link to that on the bottom so you can kind of see the class information for yourself. Now again, I like the 9x6. I tend to find that that's a journal size that works really well for me. The 6x6 works as well, but the 9x6 I find gives me plenty of room to work, as well as is very, very portable for the kinds of things that I like to do. So fabric in the front, fabric in the back, fabric for the spine. It uses kind of the messy stitching, I love the fact that it doesn't really have to all look pretty, can be really messy. I added a bit of trim here. And if you look at the inside, this is what the inside looks like. That's the front inside, the back, and a little bit of trim. Now again, very messy stitching. The entire thing is made with fabric. I get to use a lot more pieces of fabric in this way. And I've discovered kind of by accident after adding this trim that there's a pocket in the back if I don't stitch this particular seam down. So I had already put this particular piece of trim, so it's kind of stitched all the way through, so the pocket in the back is about that big, and I figured, something to try to make use of in the next one that I make. So the other thing I did, now Marianne Moss in her Remains of the Day class does a different cover, but I decided to keep mine very, very simple and just make it kind of the way I usually make my covers. So I did add a piece of watercolor paper as a stiffener for the front and the back cover. All I did for that is when I stitched the front piece, the front, the spine, and the back, kind of the outside, I stitched a piece of watercolor paper that's 9x6 to the front cover and the back cover. Then flipped it over and then went ahead and added the back. So it's really that simple. You can tell there's a little bit more stiffness to the front and back covers because of it, but there is nothing in the spine. So the spine can flatten up completely like that because there's no paper in the actual spine. Now again, I used paper, not cardboard, just the plain old cheaper watercolor paper to help with the stiffeners. So this is what the first one looks like. There's the front. It opens up like that, and there's the back. Okay. So here's the second one. I figured while I was having all my supplies out, I might as well continue using up some of these scraps of fabric that I have. And this is what the cover looks like in the front. Isn't that fabulous? Again, completely free. It would have gone into the trash, and I just love this fabric. So this is what the front looks like. This is what the back looks like. And then there's the fabric in between that makes up the spine. Again, you can see kind of the details of that. Very messy stitching. Don't care, just play. As a person who's just picking up my sewing machine after a very traumatic childhood experience with sewing, I can't tell you how freeing this whole process is. Okay, so that's what the front looks like. If you open up the book, isn't this fabulous? I love the colors. So this is what the inside looks like. That's the inside front, that's the back, and a little bit of trim right down there. Again, very messy stitching, no need to make it up into a straight line. You know, no pressure, play, have fun, make it look as messy as possible. I actually find that the messier it is, the more attractive it actually looks in the journal covers. So learning from what happened last time with the first one, I decided to see if I could figure out a way to keep the entire back open as a pocket. And all that required was to do that was to make the trim go underneath this particular back slide. So the trim goes down first, then the back, and I only sew the 3 edges of it. So my pocket is open the entire length of this back. So fabulous place to kind of store ephemera and other kinds of things when I'm filling my journal. So unlike the first one, this particular journal also has a piece of watercolor paper for the spine. So same idea. There's a 9x6 in the front, piece of watercolor paper between the front and the back covers, okay, the front, inside, and outside covers. A 9x6 between these two pieces, again, a little bit of stiffener. And I wanted to try and just see what would happen if I put a spine of watercolor paper. It's about a 1/4 inch. So you can kind of see that this set of stitch lines, this kind of marks out the particular spine for me. And I just want to explore with both of these options. I tend to not have a stiffener in my spine. I like how the book works better that way. But I thought I'd try a thicker, stiffer spine and just see what it looks like. So or how it works. So if you take a look, you'll see when this one is closed, you can actually see that there is a stiffer spine there. The book stays open. The spine doesn't flatten all the way completely like it did for the first one. So again, this is the front. That's what the inside looks like with the full pocket, and that's the back. And again, really, really easy, simple to make. I'm going to be filling both of these with paper. Now, whether they become travel journals or just they get filled with watercolor paper, I guess I'll find out, and you can stay tuned. I'll keep you posted on how that works. Have fun. If you have any questions, let me know. and I'll try to answer them for you. Thanks so much for watching.